Hey folks, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again as we get started on topic 3, which is a walkthrough of VPC Basics. So we're going to actually walk through VPC Basics in the AWS console. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is essentially the configuration that we're going to take a look at within the AWS management console, where we have a VPC with a subnet and a single EC2 instance inside of that subnet. All right, so let's go over to our AWS management console. We're going to go under services. We're going to search for VPC. So if you're following along on your own AWS account, you should already have a default VPC here. We're going to use this default VPC because it has all of the configuration necessary for our instance to be able to access the internet. It's all configured in there already. We're going to learn about those configuration settings as we go through this section. But for now, I just want to show you how we're going to put an instance inside of this subnet. So before we continue with our walkthrough, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the default VPC. So you can see here the VPC ID, and you could actually add a name here if you wanted to make an identifier for it. And we'll take a look more at that a little bit later as well. And then here's the IP CIDR that's assigned to this VPC. Now, this means that any subnets that are created and then any resources that are provisioned within our VPC are going to have their IP addresses start with these first few digits or octets. Octets are separated by the periods, and that has to do with IP addressing, which we're not really going to talk about now, but just so you know, that's what I'm referring to. Now, if we come over here to the left menu, you'll see that we have quite a few options that are listed here. We're not going to go through all of these. I am going to go to subnets and notice that there are 6 subnets here. So if you remember when we talked about the AWS infrastructure, we took a look at regions and we looked at the Northern Virginia region. And we talked about how there were 6 availability zones in the Northern Virginia region. When this default VPC was created, it created a subnet in each one of those 6 availability zones. And you can see all of those availability zones listed here. So as you go to provision your resources, you're selecting a region. And then within that region, you'll be selecting a subnet for your EC2 instance to reside in. And that will dictate what availability zone that instance will then reside in. So there are some other things that are attached to the VPC. You have route tables, internet gateways, and then you'll also talk about, as we continue to go through this, network ACLs and security groups. For now, we're actually going to go ahead and take a look at what happens when you go to provision an EC2 instance inside of a VPC so that you can see that association between the two. So we're going to go up here to services, to EC2 and launch instance and Amazon 2 Linux AMI. And we're going to leave the T2 micro as the default. Click next. And here's our VPC. Notice that it has default in parentheses here. For subnet, it's created a subnet in each of the availability zones. Again, we're going to talk about those a little bit more later. So just pick 1A for now. Then auto assign a public IP address. In order for us to access the internet, we would need a public IP address. So I'm going to leave that set to enable. And we're not going to change any of the other settings here. And we'll review these other settings when we go through the compute section of the course. So I'm going to go down here and click review and launch and click launch. Now it's asking me to download a key pair. A key pair allows you to programmatically connect to an EC2 instance. So we're not actually going to connect to this instance at this point. Again, we just want to see it get provisioned. I have an existing key pair, but you may not. So let's just walk through the steps for creating a new key pair. Click create a new key pair. And then I'm just going to call this VPC test and download the key pair and click launch instances and click View Instances. So here's that instance currently being provisioned. So as we went through the settings in the wizard, you saw that we had to select the VPC and the subnet where we wanted that instance to be provisioned. So you notice when we provisioned the instance, we had to select the VPC and the subnet where this instance is going to reside. Now there's some other components that are here that I did not display on this graphic because we haven't talked about them yet. We're going to talk about those as we go through these other lessons within this section, but this just gives you kind of an early idea of what it looks like for us to have a VPC, a subnet, and then an instance inside of that subnet. So that's going to do it for this VPC Basics walkthrough. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.